Thank you everyone for attending tonight's public hearing about the proposed removal of restricted parking zone 9 in the South Magnolia area. I'm Audra Brecher. I'm with the curbside management team at the Seattle Department of Transportation, also known as SDOT. Please be aware that the presentation and public comment portions of tonight's meeting are being recorded and are subject to public disclosure. Our vision for Seattle is an equitable, vibrant, and diverse city where moving around is safe, fair, and sustainable. Evaluating how our existing programs are working and making changes when needed are aligned with several of our values and goals, including livability, excellence, and maintenance. If you need technical assistance, hopefully maybe we won't need that anymore. Please email rpz9@seattle.gov. Live captioning is available. Let's see. If you would like to turn captioning on, you can go to your meeting controls at the top of your screen and you select More and then Language and Speech and then Show Live Captions. We'll be turning on the chat function for the question and answer part of the hearing. Please save your questions until that time and then use the chat to ask your question. We're not going to be calling on hands. If you have a question that you would rather not put in the chat, you can also write to us at the same email address, rpz9@seattle.gov. So we need to edit the first bullet point here. It's not too late. If you change your mind and you'd like to give a verbal comment tonight, you can email us at rpz9@seattle.gov, let's say until 6:30 p.m. We are here this evening to listen to comments about a proposal to remove RPZ-9 parking restrictions, and that's the topic we would like to hear from you about. One more reminder that this presentation and the verbal comment period are being recorded and are subject to public disclosure. If you would prefer not to speak tonight, but you still have feedback to share, you can email or call us. We are accepting comments on our proposal up until Friday, July 17th. We value and we're keeping track of all the comments we receive, no matter how they come to us. Verbal comments do not have any additional weight. This is the plan for tonight's hearing, starting with introductions. After we introduce ourselves, I'll give a brief presentation about our proposal. I'll share a little bit about the history of the Magnolia Restricted Parking Zone, how the program has changed since it was created, we might remove a zone, and why we think RPZ-9 is a good candidate for removal. After the presentation, we'll move into listening to your comments. The Seattle Municipal Code requires that when considering the creation of a new zone or large-scale changes to an existing RPZ, we hold a public hearing with an opportunity for public comment. And then after comments, there will also be an opportunity for questions. And again, you can also reach us by email or phone. That contact information will be up on a slide at the end. So let's get started with introductions. Again, I'm Audra Brecher. I'm a planner at the Curbside Management team at SDOT, and my work is focused on the Restricted Parking Zone program. Next, I will ask Anna to introduce herself as she'll be helping to facilitate tonight, and then we'll go to the rest of the team.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Trevino. I'm also a planner at SDOT and also working on the Curbside Management team. I will pass to Ruth Harper.
Hi everyone, my name is Ruth Harper and I am also a planner on the Curbside Management team, working on RPZ and other curbside related issues and things. Jonathan.
Hey there. Yes, I'm Jonathan Williams. I'm the parking program supervisor on the SDOT Curbside Management team, so overseeing some of our paid and permit parking programs. Thank you all for being here. I do echo the apology for the unplanned outage. Thanks for your patience. I'll pass it to Mike Esty.
Hi everyone, Mike Esty. I'm the manager of Curbside Management at SDOT. I'm going to further echo everyone's apologies for our unfortunate IT issues, but also my gratitude for your being with us tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Let's get started then with a little background. RPZ-9 was created almost 40 years ago in 1988 because of concerns that commuters were using the area as an informal park and ride. In other words, that people were driving into the area from elsewhere and parking on the public streets to take the bus downtown to their place of work. RPZ-9 is located in the South Magnolia area, just north of West Gaylor Street, with RPZ signs located between 29th Avenue West and 28th Avenue West mostly, and then also extending southeast along Thorndike Avenue West. RPZ-9 signs restrict parking to 4 hours, Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., unless the vehicle has a Zone 9 RPZ permit. If you are a resident who would like to park or have your guests park on an RPZ-signed street, you must purchase a permit if parking longer than 4 hours during the days and times that the restrictions are in effect. And only residents who live in the zone are eligible to purchase RPZ-9 permits. The purpose of the restricted parking zone program is to reduce all-day commuter parking and traffic congestion on public streets near large commuting centers like hospitals, universities, business districts, or light rail stations. And since 1988, when the Magnolia RPZ was created, the program has evolved through multiple Seattle Municipal Code changes and directors' rules. We say large commuting centers and use these places as examples because under today's requirements, a restricted parking zone can only be created if a minimum of 20 contiguous block faces are 75% full and at least 35% of those vehicles are not owned by residents. And we find that those conditions are typically associated with these types of large commuting centers. The Seattle Municipal Code lists 3 different reasons why a zone can be removed, and a zone can be removed for any one of them. The first is low permit sales in a zone. There are only 23 active permits associated with only 12 addresses in Zone 9. This is the lowest number of permits for any RPZ in the city. The second reason is the small number of blocks with RPZ signs. The code doesn't quantify what is meant by small, but Magnolia is one of our smallest zones in this sense as compared to other RPZs. And the final reason is the absence of the original traffic generator. While there are still several bus routes that serve and stop in this area, there are many neighborhoods throughout Seattle with local bus service to downtown, but we no longer create RPZs for this reason. And that's because bus service does not typically cause the all-day commuter parking impacts that would meet the required standards for creating a zone that I described before. So in order for us to better understand existing conditions on a typical weekday in the area and to compare parking availability on RPZ-signed streets with unrestricted streets just outside the RPZ, we completed a parking study in January of this year. The map on the left of the slide shows all the block faces that we studied in dark blue, and the green hatched area is RPZ-9. We observed and collected parking occupancy data on 74 block faces during 3 separate times of day: morning, midday, and evening. While parking availability varied by block face, with some fuller than others, we found overall that parking is less than 50% occupied on both RPZ-signed streets and just outside the RPZ, suggesting that the RPZ restrictions are likely unneeded. Given these conditions, our proposal is to remove the RPZ-9 parking signs at the beginning of 2027 after the current permit cycle is over. Current RPZ-signed streets would become unrestricted parking like surrounding streets, and RPZ permits would no longer be needed by residents or guests. We are taking comments through Friday, July 17th. After that date, we'll evaluate the feedback we've received before issuing a final decision in September. If the decision is to remove the restrictions, we would wait until after the current permit cycle ends before we remove the signs, likely in February 2027. Now we can move to the public comment portion of tonight's hearing. This is a time for you to make a public statement about this proposal. We will not be answering questions or engaging in conversation during your comment. This is your time to speak. There will be time for questions after the public comment period is over. So we will call you by name in the order that you signed up to speak. Anna will call two names at once, so you'll know that your turn is coming up. And when it's your turn, she will unmute you so that you can speak. Please mute yourself when you're done speaking. And public comments, again, are being recorded. And there are two formal requirements. First, please state your first and last name at the beginning of your comment. And then second, each person will have no more than 2 minutes to speak. At 1.5 minutes, Anna will let you know you have 30 more seconds so that you have time to wrap up your thoughts.
Thanks, Audra. We actually only have 3 people signed up to speak today, so I'll read all of your names so you know what order you'll come in, and then I'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourself. So we'll first hear from Robert Moritz, then we will hear from Chris Lonnie, and then we will hear from Sherry Flanagan. So Robert, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and I will start your time when you begin speaking.
Thank you. My name is Robert Moritz, and I live here on 29th Avenue West. A couple of issues that are directly related to the RPZ-7. The first one is that it's very difficult to get any parking officer to come out and monitor what's going on. And there are a lot of cars that do come and park. And some of the instances that has happened over the last couple of years, and one even several weeks ago, was that there's stolen cars that are dumped on these streets. Just recently, a stolen motorbike was also dumped on the street, and the police finally came out and towed it away. But we've had a number of those instances. But the policing of the parking zone is almost non-existent. But the residents do adhere to that, and that's probably why you're seeing less cars on the street that are not supposed to be there over 4 hours. We do see people that also go to the bus station in the morning. They will drop off their car at the moment. They don't have a permit, and they just leave it wherever, and even leaving it right on the corner, which is a dangerous situation for other cars to get around that corner. And so a large portion of what's been happening is that there's no parking enforcement that's been going on. And then we also have these other issues which I just mentioned. So this has been an ongoing problem. But the RPZ-7 has worked in that a lot of people have not just brought their cars over and blocked up the whole street. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, for your comment. Next, we will hear from Chris Lonnie. Chris, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and I'll begin your time when you start speaking. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Can y'all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks for the time. I guess I've got two, then they're probably adjacent points. First, your site and then your comments here in the presentation had said that transit and commuting patterns had changed since the RPZ was created. I'm curious to know more about what's changed. I had a little internet blurb, so I don't know if you went more into detail on that. I certainly wasn't around, in 1988 in the area, but regularly, as I walk my dog in the mornings, on almost every walk, we pass. There's a section of 29th at the intersection of 29th and Hayes. There's a place where there's, I think 2 or 3 of the street segments have RPZ, and the one to the west does not. And you literally watch people pull up, park their car, and get up and then walk up the little, kind of half block hill to the bus stop. So and west down the street, you always see, a decent cluster of cars that doesn't, it's sort of more street parking than you would expect given the, houses and driveways and, garages and things. So I don't know what, I'm not sure if there's whatever, like distribution on social media groups of like people's,
30 seconds.
or something. But I think that's going to happen if you start, if you remove the RPZs. The other thing is you say it's not a major commuting center, but the city of Seattle literally said this is a high frequency transit corridor such that they wanted to allow zoning, to like build, whatever, large, whatever, 5-floor apartment complexes or whatever along 28th. So I get that it's not as the same as like a the UW, commuting center, but it's enough of a commuting center that Seattle was going to change zoning around it. So I think that's at least some note that there is, something compelling about this high frequency transit area, because you can pick up buses every 15 minutes because the two lines come together. So that's the end of my comments.
Thanks, Chris. Sherry, you are our last public commenter today. I'll go ahead and allow you to unmute yourself, and I will start your time when you begin speaking. Hey, Sherry, we can't hear you. I'm having trouble getting your mic off. There should be up in the top right corner of your screen, the mic button that you can click. There you go. We got it. Sherry, we're having some trouble understanding you. I think there's something wrong with your microphone. Would you try just clicking it off and then clicking it on again?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
It sounded really distorted, like
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse a little bit.
Sherry, I'm sorry, but it's to the level of distortion that we really can't understand. What could we try?
Sherry, are you on your phone and your computer?
I have an idea. Anna, what do you think about we enable the chat early? Because the next portion is question and answer. And then Sherry can enter her comment in the chat.
Sure, I will do that now so you're able to do that. Sorry about this, Sherry. Okay, the chat is now turned on, so you're welcome to enter in there.
Why don't I go to the next slide and make sure Sherry knows where the chat function is.
She's typing. I think she found it.
Oh, okay, great.
Sherry, we're happy to wait if you want to expand on your comment or anything like that.
I see you applied for RPZ permits and could not get one for your vehicle. Sherry, I'm happy to follow up with you via phone tomorrow to see if I can figure out more about what happened there. I see. I'm understanding this as there's low permit. We're saying there's low permit sales in the zone, and you were saying, well, maybe there's other people applied, but they were unable to get the permits.